With the new school year starting really soon, it's important for parents to be aware of various safety considerations to ensure that their children have a safe and successful school year. Today we are joined by David Greene with our friends from Greene Phillips to discuss essential back-to-school safety for parents and kids alike. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Isn't it wild? It's already here.
It is so hard to believe.
I know.
It is a short summer.
Yes, very short, but that means a fun school year is ahead. Let's start off with some of those basic back-to-school safety tips. Starting off with drop-off.
Well, it's just important to understand it's busy. Folks haven't done it for several months, and so you really kind of just ought to time your drop-off. Maybe come a little earlier. Don't come later. You don't want to be late. You want to make sure you're early. Get there a little earlier. Possibly walk your child to class and just really check out what's going on around you, because things have changed. We've got a lot of road work in Mobile that's going on. There's a lot of things on Old Shell Road. Hopefully that's going to be finished soon. And but it's just important to make sure that you're as safe as you possibly can. And then if you're driving around, make sure you understand there's school buses out there now, and children are walking back and forth. Make sure that if you see that school bus stop on the other side, make sure you're stopping.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't break the rules, because that can hurt a child very badly.
Right. I think most kids these days either get dropped off at school or ride the bus, but in some cases, a lot of schools in Midtown, kids still walk or drive their bikes to school. What advice do you have for those parents?
Well, just make sure you're letting your child, giving your child all the safety precautions. Make sure they have their helmet. Make sure they're not breaking any of the rules, and make sure they understand they've got to stop and abide. If they're on the sidewalks, they need to make sure they're stopping at the right places. Just very important to make sure they understand that you can be seriously injured riding your bike, especially with cars out there. Just make sure they understand what the rules are, and make sure they're not rushing. Make sure they're doing the things right. We want everyone to be safe.
Yeah, of course, super important. You know this more than anyone. We're talking about school sports now. What can parents do at home to minimize injuries on the sporting fields?
Well, just make sure kids get a lot of rest. Make sure that they're doing everything they're supposed to do. Make sure they're drinking enough water. We've got football players out there. We've got folks that are training through the summer. Make sure they're drinking enough water, and make sure that they're getting enough rest and eating. So many times people get out there and they're thinking, oh gosh, I'm okay, I need to drink and drink and drink, and that's great. Make sure they're eating properly. Make sure you're sitting down. Make sure they're getting the proper nutrition. So very important for all of our kids.
For sure. And then we want our parents to be prepared in case of a potential emergency. What advice do you have for that?
Well, just make sure you're giving the coaches and the school all the information they need. Generally, our public school system does a great job, and the private schools do as well. But make sure everyone is able to reach one another in the case of an emergency. Just make sure your child has a cell phone if they're of age to have one. Our rule at our house is 12, but you need to make sure you have a cell phone where your child can be reached, or they can reach you if something happens. All
right, good advice, David. Well, if someone's watching and they want to contact you about any kind of potential legal case, how can they do that?
It's very simple. You go to greenephillips.com or call us at 251-300-2000.
All right, David, thank you so much. We hope you have a happy school year.